Hey guys, welcome back. If you've been following along my previous videos, you'll have heard me mention things like find a neutral spine, focus on your breathing and core control. In today's session, we're going to be focusing on the principles and fundamentals of Pilates so that every exercise feels effective and you feel strong throughout it. Okay, let's get started with our lateral breathing. So find a comfortable sitting position. We're going to take our hands to our lower rib cage. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose. And then exhale out through pursed lips. Good. Do that again. Taking a nice deep inhale through the nose. And then exhale out through the mouth. Good. Keep that going. I'm going to explain what lateral breathing is. So as we inhale, we're feeling those rib cages expand out to the sides and the back. And then as we exhale, we'll feel those ribs knit back together. So I like to imagine my rib cage as an umbrella. So as we inhale, imagine that umbrella is opening up. And then as we exhale, we're closing the umbrella. Good. Let's do it one more time. Those fingers should come apart. And then exhale. Fingers slowly come back together. Good. Lovely. So we're keeping the breath up here rather than in our belly or in our chest. Okay, lovely. Let's add in some movement and coordinate the breath with that movement. Okay, so coming to lie down on our backs. We can keep our knees bent, our feet are on the mat. Now have our hands by our sides. Take an inhale and raise those fingertips towards the ceiling or sky if you're outside. And then on the exhale, return those arms back down by our sides. Good. Let's do that again. Take an inhale, raise those fingertips up, just so they're above our shoulders. And then exhale, bring those arms back down by our sides. And again, inhale through that nose, and exhale. Control those arms back down by our sides. Good. Just rest those arms by our sides now. We're going to find a neutral spine. So neutral spine just means finding the natural curves of our spine. So to do this, we can take a nice pelvic tilt forward. So with those hips, push them all the way forwards towards those thighs. We'll feel an arch through the spine here. Lovely. And then on our pelvic tilt backwards, push that spine into the mat. So push that lower back into the mat. Really push those hips down so there's no gap now under that lower back. Good. And again, rock through that pelvis. We're arching through that lower spine. And then push that pelvic back in. Do that once more. So find that anterior pelvic tilt. And then imprint that spine, we find a posterior pelvic tilt, backwards tilt. Good. Just keep that going, and we're going to make each one a little bit smaller every time. So we're not arching that back too much on this one, not imprinting it all the way down, just rocking backwards and forwards, making it smaller and smaller each time until we find somewhere in the middle. So this is now our neutral spine. So we've just got a light gap underneath that lower back usually for most of us. So I like to imagine we've got a little blueberry underneath there. We don't want to squish the blueberry by pressing too much into the mat, but we also don't want to let that blueberry roll away by having too much of a gap. So kind of find that lovely middle ground. Good. So this is what we mean by find a neutral spine. You can always do this. You can do this standing, you can do it sitting. You can do it on all fours. You can usually find it a good amount of time to do a few pelvic tilts just to find that neutral spine. Lovely. I'm going to take a nice inhale here, keeping that neutral spine. And we're going to exhale, lift one leg up to tabletop. Inhale, lower it back down. Good. Same thing now. Exhale, bring the opposite leg up to tabletop. And lower it back down. Keep that going. Exhaling to lift. Inhale to lower. Alternating legs each time. And our aim is to bring that knee so it's resting over that hip. So we've got a lovely right angle going on because those shins are parallel to the floor as we lift up. So our aim here is to try and maintain that neutral spine whilst we move the legs. And it's almost like a hinge from the hips. Lovely. So here we're working on our core control, because to maintain that neutral spine, we need to engage those abs. So everyone knows where the abs are in that belly. If we just pause a moment, find that neutral spine again. If we've lost it, that's okay, we're still learning. I want you to squeeze those abs now as hard as you can. So really tense them as if I'm going to come and punch you in the stomach. You're obviously going to brace for impact. And then just relax. Okay, so you know what 100% feels like. Let's try and find a 30% squeeze now. So it's just a light squeeze through those abs. So we're not tensing as hard as we can. We're just lightly squeezing them. Okay, let's go again with those knee hovers. We're going to take a nice inhale. And then exhale, lift that leg up to tabletop. And lower back down. Good, and again, opposite leg. Good. Can you feel the difference now with being able to keep that spine in neutral because we've got that core switched on? So when I say find a squeeze through the core or switch that core on, this is the feeling we're after. So we're using that core control to help lift the legs and maintain a lovely neutral spine. Lovely. Taking this one as our last one. Keeping it up there. We're going to lift both legs to tabletop. Lovely. So making sure we've got our knees stacked over our hips and our shins are as parallel as they can be to the floor. We're going to do the same thing. It might be a bit more challenging now because we've got to keep one leg in the air still as we toe tap one leg down. So take a nice preparation inhale. Exhale. Drop that toe down towards the mat. And bring it right back up. We go again, opposite leg. Good. Keep going, alternating legs each time. Really draw that belly button in towards the spine. That'll help keep those abs switched on. And we're working hard to keep that back from arching up off the mat. Good. So we should really be feeling it through our abs here. That's the main focus of this exercise. Good. Lovely. One more on each side. Good. And just squeeze those legs in towards your chest. Give a little rock side to side. So I could really feel it in my core then. And that's where we want to be feeling it. Lovely. Just relaxing those feet back down to the mat. So our knees are still pointing up towards the sky. And we're going to work on some shoulder stability now. So we've done our breathing, we've done our core control, and we've done our neutral spine. And they're the three things we want to think about during all the other exercises during Pilates, all the other movements, okay? So still think about those in the back of your mind. We're going to work on some shoulder stability and working those postural muscles. So bringing our fingertips up towards the ceiling. Take a nice inhale and lift those shoulders up off the mat. So really reach those fingertips nice and long. Then exhale. Lower them back down to the mat. Good. And again, take an inhale. Feel those shoulder blades come away from each other as we reach those fingers all the way up. And then exhale, let them melt back into the mat. Good. Keep that going, taking it slow. Good. So when we reach all the way up, this is our protraction. And as we melt back down into the mat, this is our retraction. So we're working on those scapulars, which are the shoulder blades in that region, coming apart from each other, and then gliding back together as we come down. So they come apart here. Lovely. Couple more here. Keeping those shoulders relaxed away from the ears, so even though we will be moving them, we don't want them to be hiking up towards the ears here. Keep them nice and away. Good. Final one. Lovely. Bring those arms down to the mat. Good. We're just going to turn onto our front now. So this is called a prone position when we're lying on our front. When we were just lying on our back, then that was our supine position. Lying on our back, prone, lying on our front. So we're going to come with our face down towards the mat, but I'll just explain the exercise first, otherwise you might not be able to hear me. We're coming down, and we're going to take our arms out to a T position. Okay, so your forehead will be resting on the mat now. We're activating through the backs of the legs here, so switch on the glute muscles, the quad muscles, the hamstrings, and switch on that core as well. Make those hips heavy into the mat. Thinking about our lateral breathing, we're still inhaling out to the sides of those rib cages and to the back. Okay, we're going to take a nice inhale. And then exhale, lift from the upper back here, bringing that forehead up off the mat. Keeping those arms lifted, not touching the floor. And then inhale, lower back down. And again. Exhale. Lift from the upper back. Bring those shoulder blades together. And then exhale. They come apart as we come back down. So keep that going. We're going to go for a few more. So with this exercise, we need to make sure we are squeezing that core. So find that 30%, we need to protect the lower spine. So we don't want to feel any arching through that lower back, because this whole movement is coming from the upper back, that scapula, those shoulder blades. Good. 2 more. Keep those arms nice and extended, nice and long, fingertips reaching away. Last one. Good. And come back down. Just bring those hands next to you and you can have a little relax. Wiggle that body out. Whew. Okay, so moving on to hip stability now. We're going to come to a side lying position, setting ourselves up ready for clams. So to do this, we want to make sure we've got our hips stacked on top of each other. Heels are in line with the bum. We've got our shoulders stacked over our elbow. Find a little lift through that waist by pushing that top hip away. And other hand can come in front just to support it. It can come to our hip, okay? Take a nice deep inhale. Remember that lateral breathing. Squeeze in through that core. And on the exhale, start to lift that knee up towards the ceiling. Good. Inhale, lower back down. And again. Exhale. Inhale, lower. Good. Keep that going. Thinking about keeping those hips stacked. So this is how the hip stability comes into play here. We really want to control how wide the knee opens up, because if we open it too wide, that top hip then starts to fall back, and we want to keep them nice and stacked. So exercises like this really help to improve the muscles that support the lower back. And that can then in turn help reduce that lower back pain that we sometimes feel. Good. So we start to feel it through the outer glute, through the hip flexor here. Keep that going. Remembering that breath, keeping that mat pushed away. So we're not sinking into that shoulder. Good. We've got 2 more. Last one. Good. Just extend that top leg out nice and long now. We're going to do our leg raises. So we can keep the knee bent as our base of support, or we can extend it long. So we've got a limited base of support here, so we might find it harder to stop that wobbling back and forth. It's up to you which version you take. You can start with that knee bent and then extend it if you feel comfortable. So making sure we start with those hips stacked. Toes are on top of each other to begin. Hand can come in front to stabilize. Take a nice inhale. We've zipped up through that core, find that 30% squeeze. And on the exhale, lift that top leg. And inhale lower. Exhale. And inhale. Good. Keep that going. Remembering to keep that leg only lifting as far up as we can without those top hips moving away. So our main cheat code here is to make sure we're squeezing through that core so we can keep the torso nice and still whilst we just lift and lower that leg. Good, keep going. Squeeze through the leg here, so squeeze through the glute and the quad. Help you lift. Taking it slow. Good. We've got 3, 2. Last one. And just bend those knees in. Give that bum a nice little tap, that top bum. Good job. We're going to come lying back down onto our backs. We're going to go into our glute bridges. Our shoulder bridge, sorry. So shoulder bridges. We're going to have our feet flat on the mat. Hands can just come by our sides for now. And take those feet hip width apart and just shuffle them in. We should just be able to graze the backs of those heels with our fingertips. Lovely. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Find that neutral spine to begin with. So if you need to do some pelvic tilts, go ahead and do them. Remember that little blueberry just underneath that lower back. And then zip up through that core. So when I say zip up, you've not heard that one before. It means, imagine putting on your tightest pair of jeans and you need to slightly suck in so then you can zip them up and button them. So that's what I mean when I say zip up, okay? Just another visual for you to think of to squeeze that core. Lovely. If we're ready, take a nice deep inhale. Exhale. Rock back through that pelvis, so imprint that spine. And then start to peel that spine up off the mat, squeezing those glutes and pushing that pelvis up towards the ceiling. Finding a lovely diagonal line. Take a nice inhale at the top. Exhale. Start to roll back down through that spine. Back down, so we're finding neutral spine at the bottom. Slight pelvic tilt. Take a nice inhale here. Exhale. Let's roll through that pelvis again. Peel that spine up off the mat. Squeezing those glutes, sending those hips up. Find a hold and squeeze at the top. Take an inhale. And then exhale, we'll roll all the way back down. Good. Keep going. Lovely. Still working a bit of pelvic stability here, that hip stability. I'm going to make sure that pelvis stays nice and still and stable as we work through our shoulder bridges. Good, and again. So we're taking some of that weight into the shoulders, so we need to stay nice and strong through the shoulders, also working on that stability up there. Lovely, come right back down. We've got 2 more. So feeling it a little bit through the hamstrings, through the glutes. A little bit through the quads, through the shoulders. Got a last one. Make sure we're not overarching that back as we come up. Good. Coming back down, find that neutral spine, then just hug those knees in. Good job. Lovely. Coming to sit up, we're swinging those legs round. We're going to do those clams and those leg lifts on the opposite leg. So find that set up position again. So shoulder is over that elbow. Hips are nice and stacked. Heels are in line with the bum. Hand comes in front or just on that hip. Push that top hip away, find that lift through the waist. Zip up through that core. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, open that knee up towards the ceiling. And lower back down. Good. And again. Good, keep it going. Remember to keep those hips stacked, so not opening that knee too high. Range of motion doesn't matter here. What does matter is that pelvic stability and that hip stability. Good. Find that squeeze still. Think about that breath. Good. We've got 3 more. We've got 2. Last one. Just lower back down. Take that leg nice and long. Remember, we can keep this knee bent, or we can take that nice and long as well. Lovely. Take that nice inhale. Exhale, lift that leg up. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Good. Keep going. Taking it slow. Control that lower back down. Don't let that leg just fall. Make sure we've not sunk into that elbow, into that shoulder. Keep pressing that mat away. Good. We've got 3 more. 2. Last one. Lower back down. Good. Bend those knees in. Give a little pat and a rub. Lovely. Okay. Pushing ourselves up. We're going to go into our dead bug. So this is working on control of movement. So we're working the brain here because we need to be switched on. So we think about coordination and balance. Okay, come into a 4-point kneel. Find that neutral spine again. So here you can do pelvic tilts, just to find somewhere in the middle. Making sure the shoulders are stacked over the wrists, the hips are stacked over the knees. We're going to start with our legs. Take a nice inhale. Gaze comes just towards the top of that mat, so we've got a lovely neutral line through the body. Take an inhale, and then exhale. Lift that leg nice and long, squeezing through the glutes, keeping that pelvis level. Inhale, come down. Exhale, opposite leg goes long. And inhale, return. Good. Keep going. Alternating legs each time. Keep pushing that mat away, not sinking into those shoulders. Thinking about that neutral spine here. Make sure it's not arching as we lift that leg up. Squeeze through the glutes, through the quads. A little bit through the hamstrings. Returning that knee under that hip each time. Good. Now for our coordination, we're going to add in opposite arm to leg. So as you take that leg long, opposite arm comes nice and long. Good. Lower back down. So you have to find that balance as well. Take an inhale. Exhale, reach nice and long. Inhale, lower. Good. Keep going. Few more left. Good. Lovely. So coordinate the hand and knee to come down at the same time. Lovely. We've got one more on each side. Keep drawing that belly button in. Imagine those limbs are going nice and long before they come up high. So thinking more about length than height. Good. Lower back down. Nice. Just rock back into a child's pose. Stretch it off. Taking a few breaths. Lovely. We're going to do our final exercise, which is swimming, and this is coming down to lie on our stomach again. And can you remember what it's called? Prone. So we're coming down. Forehead will be resting on the mat for you guys. I'm going to take those arms out long. Okay? Make sure we found that imprint of that pelvis into the mat. So make it nice and heavy. Squeeze through the glutes and through the legs here. Find that squeeze through the core as well. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhale, we're going to lift opposite arm and leg. Good, and lower back down. So chest should slightly come up off the mat as we do this. Lower back down. So again, think about taking those limbs nice and long as we do this. They don't have to come high off the mat. And we're squeezing through that core to protect the lower spine as well during this movement. Good, few more. Remember that breath into the side of those rib cages. We've got two. Last one. And just relax down. Whew. Lovely. Push yourself up and just come so we're lying on our backs. So we're just going to stretch off the body. So feet can be on the mat. Take those arms out to the side in a T position. Drop those knees down to one side. Head goes to look over opposite shoulder. Feel that twist through the spine here. Just take a nice deep inhale. Exhale. Switch those legs over to the other side. Head comes to look over opposite shoulder. And again. Inhale. Exhale. Switch again. Good. Keep going. Last one. Just bring yourself over onto your side. Just for a moment, take a breath here. And then in your own time, gently push yourself up to a sitting position. Can be on your knees, can be legs crossed, can be in a mermaid. And close our eyes here. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose. And exhale out through the mouth. Good, and again. Deep inhale. Exhale out. final time. Good job, guys. Now you understand the fundamentals and principles of Pilates. You'll be able to apply this to all your future Pilates classes.